it up, let it roll. Stars and stripes in my soul. Steel toes on, boots in the gravel. Heartland truth on every channel. Open Bible, flag on the wall. We say what we believe when we don't talk at all. This is red, white, and raise hell. Cowboy hat, church bell can't scare us into silence. We were born to rebel from the back road to the beltway. We won't fade, we won't fail. Proud, loud, standing tall. Red, white, and raise hell. We back the badge, we guard the border. We love our guns and law and order. They try to shame every word we say, but we don't bow down, we just press play. This is red, white, and raise hell. Cowboy hat, church bell can't scare us into silence. We were born to rebel from the back road to the bell. Hey, we won't fade, we won't fail. Proud,
All right, everybody. Good morning. I've double and triple checked to make sure I'm not feeding another platform. That means you should be able to hear me. Good morning in the chat room. See what's happening in the chat real quick, if I can. See what's going down to make sure. Give me a hell yeah if you can hear me this morning. Hold on, let me go. I want to have it in stereo here. Give me a hell yeah if you can hear me, everybody. As we get rolling, 4 minutes now after the hour of 7 o'clock on this Friday the 13th, by the way. Good morning, Mr. Graft. I see the politically incorrect grifter there. Doesn't know that he commits graft. Hell yeah, I got the green light from him. Good deal. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate you. Friday the 13th. All right. Thank you, Rum, for the sound check. CAD. Why don't I call you a cad? A cad is an insult. Turn the music down a little bit here. It's a little bit hotter. I like the vibe, though. I told you. I get some of the music vibes from AI through this platform, and they're not great. They're just like there. Some of them I kind of vibe with a little bit, hence the vibe. And so, yeah, I'm going to let it play for a little bit, just in the intro here. I don't want to call somebody a cad if their handle online is CAD, because cad is, like I said, it's kind of an insult. I don't want to do that. Somebody says it sounds a little bit canny. Well, that's not good. Let me check the settings here. Let's make sure we're all good. Yeah, no, this is the regular old microphone. Everything should be hunky-dory on that end. But yeah, so tell me what to call you, CAD. Should I just call you by the letters like that, or are you a cad? It's an old school, like, I don't know, 40s, 50s or something like that, or earlier insult to call somebody a cad. For a door, gave me the hell yeah. Macromia gave me the hell yeah. KC John. Chris is fine. Okay, Chris. If I can remember that. Uncle Odie, good morning to you. B Butts, the West Sider, Lisa. Excuse me. Apologies for that. It's very early and I haven't talked a lot yet, so it's kind of getting it all worked out. Yo, Jimbo. Joanne, good morning to you. CMG and Gregory and SRL. And Sally, good morning, Sally. Black Belt, up in the hizzy. Yeah, I'm too white to say hizzy, aren't I? I probably I can't get away with that. Sarah, who else am I looking at here? Liberty Bell, if I didn't say it before. I'm going to make sure I don't be redundant here. Janie, good morning. B. Morgan. All right, everybody. The regulars are in. Bring some folks with you. Who'd you bring today? Cheryl in Wycliffe. Good morning, Cheryl in Wycliffe. I see you. Who'd you bring? Computer-aided design. Yeah, that's CAD. That's CAD. Okay, well done, Charlotte. Doesn't know what graft is, but knows what CAD stands for in computer lingo. All right. Marina was dropping bombs yesterday. I like that. As you can see, the title of the episode is Free for All Friday, and that means we are going to be bop around everywhere. Whatever you guys want to talk about, I'm going to really rely on the chat today. This is kind of like talk radio, but without the phone calls. I get to literally hear what you have to say and what you want to say and respond to it in real time. That's the beauty of doing this on this platform now. So I'm actually kind of glad about that. But I do have a bunch of things I want to get into, including my heart attack yesterday when I found out that Tom Homan and President Trump decided to surrender Minnesota to the lunatics. Yeah, I'm not happy. I'm being 100% honest with you. I'm not happy about it. I've got good things to say. All right, I've heard enough of the vibe now. Let me kill it. I've got good things to say, but I've got some things that, like I said, are not making me happy at all about that decision. Because I think it's a surrender, and I think it really, really sends a bad message to the rest of the country and to ICE agents everywhere. I think it's a bad thing. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. That's tops on my list, but like I said, being a free-for-all Friday, whatever you guys want to talk about is kind of cool. You can pop it up there. You want to talk about Senator Marino, and he was dropping bombs. So was Josh Hawley at Keith Ellison. I'll give you a little bit of that. A lot of important hearings yesterday. Today, by the way, is the day that the government, quote unquote, shuts down, at least by way of DHS, because the lunatics, again, they want to abolish ICE. We talk about it almost every single day. That's the goal here. Their little list of demands it's like 10 bullet points, but it's like got like 26 things in it that they demand that ICE do in order to continue to be operational, or for them to fund the rest of DHS, which includes TSA and air traffic control and FEMA and everything else. I mean, it's just, again, these people are just loons. We cannot give them an inch. You bow an inch to that mob of lunatics, I mean, they will take, 1,000 miles. Just can't do it. Can't do it. So we're going to get into that. But like I said, we're going to bop around. There's a lot of things in the news cycle, things we started talking about earlier this week. We may pick up on things that are all flashy, brand new today. But we're going to do that for the first hour. The second hour, I'm going to give you what I was only giving to the locals, unfiltered insiders, for the last 3 days. It was Tuesday that I interviewed Kurt Schlichter. No, that's not true. It was Monday that I interviewed Kurt Schlichter, senior columnist at townhall.com. Who's just got such an amazing wealth of knowledge in so many different things. He's a retired colonel in the U.S. Army, served in Kosovo. He's a trial lawyer. He's an author. He's a columnist. He does radio, fills in on national shows like I do. Just a little bit of everything, and just a great political pundit. Kurt's just a fun guy too. And we did a full-on hour with Kurt on Monday, and I have not released it to anybody yet except for the locals, unfiltered insiders. And I'm going to play it for everybody now today. It's been 4 days. So I'm going to give that to you and play that for you in the second hour. So this first hour is just straight up unfiltered, free for all stuff. And it is Friday the 13th. So as we check the quote a day inspirational calendar, the perpetual calendar, February 13th, obstacles are those frightful things you see when you take your eyes off the goal. That is one of my favorite, that one is an anonymous quote. That is one of my favorite quotes, and I have used so many times in my life, and I guess because I've been using this flip calendar for 35 years, I have used that so many times in positions of authority to try to get my charges that I'm pushing forward to do great things or what have you, to not be dissuaded by pain, by, hard work in front of them, by setbacks. I can remember the first time I think I used it. This is going back to 1989, I think. 1989, 1990. I guess it would have been the winter, but early 1990. So like January, February 1990, when my college fraternity, we were having pledging, and I was elected by my frat to be pledge master. And basically that's in charge of, running the whole recruiting and induction, if you will, into the fraternity. It was, I'm not going to get into the specifics quite obviously, but I remember that was the message that I had every one of the pledges, recruits or whatever you want to call them, memorize and recite. Exactly that quote that I just gave you, because when they were going through the hard times and when they were going through some of the physically laborious things and some of the mental things and whatnot, that's what I had them do. I used it when I was coaching football and the kids were training, and I was coaching, this is in the early 1990s, and even to my younger kids, when I was coaching my son's teams just in the last, 15 years. Obstacles are the frightful things you see when you take your eyes off the goal. If you stop being laser focused on where you want to be, you'll see every one of those roadblocks, every one of those mountains, every one of those, uncrossable rivers or whatever in your path. If you just keep your eyes on the goal, you will march right through, above, and over and beyond those. Just a thing. I don't know. I find it very inspirational, and I hope you do too. That's the reason I'm going to keep doing this every day on the show. Probably should have been doing it on the radio for the last 20 some years, but I didn't. But here we are. We're doing it now. So anyway, what else do we got going on? Good morning. Why? Yeah. Roz is right. Why is she number 15 on the thumbs up with 85 people here? It's a good point. It's 27. Now it's up to 27. Where's everybody else? And when we get 150 people in here and 180 people in here and so forth, I hope we get 180 clicks and on thumbs ups. I think we're averaging, if I were to kind of, I don't know if I can do this or not, because I don't want to mess up the live screen here. But if I go to just the channel and look at previous episodes in terms of the number of likes. Okay, no, I can't. Just across the main screen, it just shows the number of views. Okay. Well, anyway, but yeah, the number of likes should absolutely match the number of people who are coming in. And don't forget, regulars, visitors, who are here every morning. I'm going to start asking. I'm going to start quizzing you every day. Who'd you bring with you today? Who did you pitch the show to today to say, hey, tune into this, be a part of this, enjoy the chat, engage with like-minded patriots as we try to do things to save the country and to protect and preserve the republic? Who'd you bring with you today? All right. I'm going to start asking that. I'll start on Monday, and everybody better have an answer. All right. Who did you pitch it to? Who did you send the link to today? That's grassroots. I'm asking you to do what a candidate would ask you to do, which is door knock, make phone calls, those kinds of things. Get more people on board with our campaign, which is, again, to keep the metaphor going for political office. Okay. So here's what I want to do. I'm going to give you, a little bit of Tom Homan, because Tom Homan, dropped the bomb yesterday. I heard it. It was about, I don't know, half an hour or so after we got off the show yesterday. I wish it had been a little earlier so that I could have addressed it on the air yesterday. And I'll give you my first blush reaction to it from yesterday, and I'll give you my updated view of it this morning as well, after hearing a little bit more. That is not to say that I've changed my view on it overall. I have not. I'm very, very disappointed with this decision, but I do have a little more context now, and so I want to be fair about it. All right, so I'm going to share a little bit of these video clips of Tom Homan's announcement yesterday. So watch and listen. This is some of the good stuff. Okay, this is some of the good stuff that Tom Homan, by the way, laid it out very well yesterday in terms of order. It was a masterclass because he spent about the first 16, 17 minutes. They were talking about this on the 5 yesterday afternoon, and I think they were right. The first 15, 16 minutes talking about all the great things that have been done by ICE on the ground in Minneapolis, Minnesota, in the Twin Cities, okay? Which was fantastic, and it probably had the left and Tim Walz and Jacob Fry just biting their lips and digging their fingernails into their palms and furious as hell because he's talking about what a great job ICE is doing for 17 minutes. And this is some of that, which of course is before he led up to the bombshell that they were leaving, that had the lunatics doing cartwheels, which is why I'm mad about it. But this is the good stuff. So listen to a little bit of that.
In addition to taking public safety threats off the street, ICE here in this state have located 3,364 missing unaccompanied alien children. Children that the last administration lost and weren't even looking for. That's because of the leadership of President Trump, these children were located. In addition to taking public safety threats.
That's damn right. And that is important. And I'm so glad to hear him say that. The last administration weren't even looking. They didn't care. They didn't care. All they cared about was don't separate the families, because every adult male walking in with a 5-year-old has to be that 5-year-old's father, right? Because the 5-year-old won't be intimidated or scared into telling you this isn't my dad. I'm being moved. I've been kidnapped. I'm being taken. But 400,000 or so illegal aliens came in, and the left didn't give a rat's red, you know what, about what was happening with those children. They were brought here, trafficked here to do either slave labor or even worse, sexual slavery. And the Biden Department of Homeland Security and Department of Justice and Immigration and Customs, they didn't do a thing. They didn't care. Trump has got them out there. And just in Minnesota, 3,300 of those kids have been found and located and identified. 3,334, I think he said. So, I mean, it's down to the child. These aren't round numbers or raw numbers, okay? So that's important. Let me see what else. I wanted to share some other good things here. This is a very, very important point that Tom Homan made. Let's share this one. talking about sanctuary cities, which I will address here in a moment, because I think the danger is still very, very real with respect to what ICE is going to face in other sanctuary cities because of yesterday's announcement. But here's what the Borders Czar said.
It shouldn't be a partisan issue that you arrest public safety threats in the safety and security of a jail. Releasing public safety threats back in the public is just stupid. And I've been arguing this for years. And I hope Congress takes action on sanctuary cities and sanctuary states. It makes sense. If you think about it, even the argument I hear, well, victims and witnesses of crime that are in the country illegally want to feel safe to come to law enforcement and to report those crimes without fearing that this law enforcement agency is working with ICE. That's a bunch of crap. Because victims and witnesses of crime don't want the bad guy released in the neighborhood either. It's ridiculous. We want access to the person that you chose, the local jurisdiction chose, to lock in a jail cell. And we have that cooperation here now. It's the right thing to do, and it makes this community safer. This community is safer because we arrested 4,000 illegal aliens in this, over 4,000 illegal aliens here. Many of them public safety threat, not all of them. As I said, we're going to force immigration law, but this community is much safer because of President Trump's leadership and the men and women standing on this stage.
All right. He's right on every single step of that. It shouldn't be it should not be partisan. It should not be complicated. It should be very, very obvious what has to be done. And what has to be done, and I'm going to share this announcement with you now, because this is the big one. What has to be done is criminals need to be held accountable for their crimes. This is not a new concept. Trump didn't invent it. It's true of domestic criminals, and it's true of foreign criminals. It's true of American citizens, legal residents, and illegals who came here. If you are caught committing a crime, accountability must happen. That means law enforcement has to go out and find you and arrest you, wherever you may be. If you have already been arrested, again, I don't care if you are a local, if you are a citizen, a visitor, or an illegal. If you are already arrested, it is incumbent upon law enforcement to hold you until you can be taken, processed, and arraigned if you're going to trial here in the United States, or deported if you're an illegal. It is not complex at all. So it's important that we clarify this, or at least I think it's important that we clarify this. And now this is the bomb that Tom Homan dropped yesterday that I was quite simply not ready for, and very disappointed about. So let me see. Oh, dang it. This is not it. I apologize. This is the one from February 4th. That's the wrong bombshell. My bad. Well, what I might end up having to do here is just give you the very brief version of it, in which, well, you know what? Here's a little bit more, Tom. Let me give you this one. Here's a little bit more of the press conference yesterday with the Borders Czar, Tom Homan, talking about some of the accusations against ICE. Let's watch this one while I try to find you the clip I want.
I want to say something about the various unfounded complaints I'm hearing about ICE enforcement operations. During the surge operation, ICE has not arrested anybody inside a hospital. We have not arrested anybody inside of a school, an elementary school. We have not arrested anybody inside a church. As a matter of fact, the only ones that disrespected the sanctuary of a church were the agitators that have been arrested and prosecuted, and so far we have 9 of them. I want to say something about the various unfounded complaints I'm hearing about ICE enforcement operations. During the surge,
that was just an important thing to hear him say, because again, the accusations are that ICE is doing all of these terrible things and going into hospitals and taking patients out, and going into schools and taking kids out, and all the other lies that they have, told, that the left-wing media has told, that left-wing elected officials have told. Here's a little bit more on what Tom had to say.
We now have the ability to arrest criminal aliens in the safety and security of jails throughout the state at the time they're being released, like we've done in other states. I've also directed the strategic placement of officers in certain areas throughout the states that can respond quickly to sheriffs that want to release somebody and notify us We need to be nearby so they don't hold them unnecessarily. So we worked on a strategic plan to reassign officers in those key locations. Arresting a public safety threat and the safety and security of a jail is safer for the alien, it's safer for the officer, and safer for the community. I think we all can agree on that. It requires less resources for at-large operations. It just makes sense. I'll say it again, as I've said many times, we are not asking local law enforcement to act as immigration officers. I don't want them to be immigration officers. We're the immigration officers. We just want them to be cops. We're asking law enforcement to coordinate with other law enforcement to help keep public safety risk out of the communities.
And if that is happening, absolutely, that is the right thing to do. No question about it. And nobody is ever going to make me say a bad word about Tom Homan, ever. I said this on January 21st, or whenever it was, the day after President Trump's inauguration as 47, that the best hire he made was Tom Homan. And I think it was the first hire he made. He said, he's my border czar. I think he named him before, almost at the same time he named J.D. Vance as his running mate. I mean, he knew what Tom Homan was going to be, and it was the best decision he has ever made. All right. Tom Homan is indeed a national treasure and a true patriot and somebody who should have more medals put around his neck. However, I believe that what happened yesterday is a mistake. And whether it was Tom Homan, who actually went to President Trump and said, I think it's time to get out of Minnesota, or President Trump is looking at the polls and starting to see attitudes shift because of the way the left is painting, what's going on in Minnesota with the 2 deaths and so on and so forth. And the president saw the optics here in the midterms and said, we got to get out. We got to get out and change the narrative. Whichever way it was, I'm not a fan. Not a fan at all. If you look on your screen right now, this is just CBS's coverage of it. Border Czar says Minnesota ICE surge is ending. I don't want to see any more bloodshed. I have proposed, and President Trump has concurred, Tom said, that the surge operation conclude. He said the decision was made after looking at 2 important factors: the multitude of public safety threat arrests the operation has yielded, and a steep drop in the need for federal officers to call in quick response force teams due to agitators. This is a good thing. It's a win for everybody, not just the safety of law enforcement. It's a win for this community. And that's where I've got a problem. He went on to say a significant drawdown is already underway, and I don't want to see any more bloodshed. I don't want to see any more bloodshed either. Nobody wants to see bloodshed except for the people who made bloodshed happen. And I'm sorry, but I'm just going to be frank here. Tim Walz wanted bloodshed. He got it. Jacob Frey wanted bloodshed. He got it. Ilhan Omar, Keith Ellison, they wanted ICE to strike out at the agitators, the impeders, the obstructionists, the criminals who are getting in the way of ICE, pinning them, cornering them, blockading them in, running their vehicles at them, physically accosting them. They wanted ICE to snap at people and let blood flow so that they could then have the righteous indignation card on their side and say, this has got to stop. People are dying. People are getting killed. And yesterday, our administration bowed down to that and said, you win. I'm looking for somebody. I made a video yesterday evening in my truck of Bob Frantz Road Rants saying, talk me down from this. I'm trying to get there, and I have not gotten there. How is this in any way, shape, or form not a surrender? How is this in any way, shape, or form not telling lunatic mayors and governors of sanctuary cities and states where ICE is moving to next that if you don't want them in your community, here's the playbook drawn up by Tim Walz. Tampon Tim, the jazz hands man, Tim Walz, drew up a playbook. Jacob Frey, the soy boy himself, drew up a playbook for everybody else to follow. Surge your lunatics in your local community and bust them in from other communities. Pay them to get out there and get in the faces of ICE agents. impede their operations, blow whistles in their faces, stick cameras in their faces, get up on them, create a crowd around them, make them feel boxed in until they strike. When they strike out of self-defensive fear for their own safety, now we've got them. Then we complain about how horrible this is for the community, and they'll leave. What did I just say that was incorrect? This is what they did in Minnesota. Did we find 3,334 missing children? Yes, I'm not saying it wasn't successful. Did we apprehend a number of illegal aliens that were being targeted in Minneapolis and St. Paul? Yes. But in that press conference yesterday, our border czar, and again, one of my heroes in this country and in this administration, a man for whom I have such deep and profound respect, Tom Homan, he admitted there's over 16,000 more illegals that they're looking for in the state of Minnesota, not the Twin Cities, the whole state. But obviously the biggest population is in the Twin Cities. And we're letting them stay. We're tucking tail and running out of the Twin Cities because they played us. Ultimately, that's what happened here. And they won. And now, not a singular ICE agent is going to be able to operate in anything close to a sanctuary city without having them do the same thing because they know it worked. It worked. They drove them out of Minnesota with these tactics. We run that playbook now in the next sanctuary city and the one after that and the one after that. Their jobs just went from difficult to damn near impossible. I don't understand how that can be seen as anything other than, like I said, a surrender, a full and an unconditional surrender. Now, having said that, Tom Homan took to X yesterday, Twitter, X, whatever, and issued a much more comprehensive report on why they did what they did than the press conference was able to reveal, because he was able to put this in bullet point writing. And I'm going to share the whole thing with you, and we'll respond to this together too. I will say this gave me at least some small sense of comfort. Again, talking me off the ledge, whatever you want to call it, eased some of my angst, and maybe it will yours as well. But let's have a look. It was a pretty comprehensive statement, and I'm willing to read this whole thing to you. It's not that bad. Since I've been on the ground here in Minnesota, writes Thomas D. Homan, border czar for President Donald J. Trump, I've had the opportunity to assess progress of the surge operation, as well as conduct extensive federal, state, local, and community stakeholder outreach to hear their perspectives, obtain better cooperation, and de-escalate the intense, unlawful, and dangerous situation that had unfolded here. Today, I was pleased to announce that ICE's target list has been significantly reduced, and many public safety threats have been removed from local communities. Okay. I'm going to pick nits. Significantly reduced, not job all done. Many public safety threats have been removed, not all. That matters. That means we're leaving criminals still in the community and running. And if any one of those criminals still in the community commits a harsh crime against a local in that community after we bailed out, how do you think that's going to look on us? If there's another Rachel Morin, if there's another Jocelyn Nungari, whatever, if something happens after we bailed out, you just think about how that's going to look. I got a problem. We have obtained unprecedented level of coordination with counties to notify us before releasing a criminal alien from jail and allowing ICE to assume custody in the safety and security of a jail setting. This is what we've been asking for the last 2 months. And every time we asked for it, Jacob Frey said, nope, not doing it. We're not allowing it. He said counties, not cities. So maybe there is a different level here at the county, with the sheriffs. Maybe that's what he's talking about. I'm going to cross my fingers and hope that that's what that means, that they are bypassing Jacob Frey and ignoring Governor Walz, who told them, no, local law enforcement doesn't do federal law enforcement work. We're not cooperating. That's why they had released thousands of them already, despite federal detainers being issued. They have released thousands of them into the community already. That's hugely important. Unlawful agitator activity has notably decreased, and state and local law enforcement has stepped up to shut down unlawful actions committed by agitators. Again, for how long? Because that happened when you first got there. It happened for a day that law enforcement went out and did sweeps and started arresting people which, by the way, guys like me who are not law enforcement officials, but guys like me were saying 2 months ago, arrest every single one of them that walks across the path of an agent, because they are literally obstructing and impeding the law enforcement operations of these federal officials. Arrest them and make their lives miserable. Not saying they have to go to prison for 10 years, but arrest them, keep them in lockup for a night until their arraignment the next day or a weekend, whatever the case might be. And they weren't doing that because they weren't allowed to do that. Now they did it for a day and then they went right back to business as usual. So I don't know, again, on the ground, whether or not the local law enforcement are doing that again, but that's huge. And now they won't have to, because right now there's going to be a parade. There's going to be a parade in Minnesota where the ICE agents were operating. And they're going to be celebrating ICE out, ICE out, ICE out, and cheering because they got ICE out before the job was done. The far left and extreme organized agitator groups can try to spin this however they want, but these are the facts. Tom, I love you, but that is the point. They're spinning it the way that it is. For over a month, they chanted ICE out, ICE out, ICE out. Yesterday, President Trump and you said, deal, ICE is out. They have no choice but to cheer and say, we did it. And this is the message that every other city in which ICE is going to be operating, looking for criminal threats, they're going to do the same thing. The sanctuary cities, that's the point. Yes, they're going to spin this. They're going to spin it because it's true. They drove us out. And I say us because I'm one of you. Given the success we have achieved here, I announced earlier that I had proposed the president concurred with concluding this surge operation. Our officers and agents deployed here will continue immigration enforcement actions in other locations across the country to deliver on the president's goals to maintain border security and conduct mass deportations. And guess what? They are in trouble because of what we just agreed to. I want to thank the dedicated, talented men and women of ICE and CBP who have worked tirelessly during this surge operation to enforce federal immigration laws and remove public safety threats from the streets of Minnesota. Minnesota communities are safer as a result, but not completely safe. You literally said yourself 16,000 of them in the state of Minnesota are still there. When we voted in 2024 for President Trump, one of the things we voted for was the, quote, largest mass deportation in history to be carried out. And we didn't just say some. We didn't just say those with certain marks on their record. We said all of them. And damn it, that's a promise made that I want kept. And so far, it's in progress, I guess, but it hasn't been kept. And now it's very, very clear that we're going to allow the agitators to drive us out and stop us from achieving more of that. I'm not okay with that. Thank you, President Trump, for your ongoing leadership and commitment to ensuring law and order, public safety, and prosperity for American communities. I back that statement 100%. As I've said before, when it comes to border security and immigration enforcement, no president has delivered more and done it better than President Trump. I agree with that. Absolutely. President Trump has been, without question, the most dedicated to national security, border security, American sovereignty than, certainly in my lifetime. Tom Homan likes to say that Trump is, best president of his lifetime and the most dedicated and so forth. And I think he's older than me. So yeah, and maybe ever though. That's how good Trump has been. 0.0 illegal aliens released into the interior of the United States in the last 9 months. What was a stream of thousands and thousands a month, actually millions a month, in all truthfulness. Hell, even the the big, comprehensive immigration reform bill that the left was pushing, in 2024, and saying Trump didn't want it to pass because it would work, and then he wouldn't be able to run on the illegal immigration issue anymore. Even that allowed 1.8 million a month, 5,000 a day. We're going to be allowed to come in. So it was going to be another 1.8 million a month. Unless my math is off on this. I'm trying to remember the numbers now. At any rate, but I remember the point being that even with their new, we spend $1 trillion and change the laws, the president by his decree will be able to slow immigration and shut the border down after a certain amount crossed per day. I think it was 5,000 a day. I think that's what it was. It was 1.8 million more a year is what it would have been, not a month. But yeah, it was another 5,000 a day. And that was, again, only if the president decided once we hit those numbers to shut it down. That's the way they wrote that. Okay. So we went from that best case scenario, 5,000 a day allowed to cross. Best case scenario. Worst case scenario is, again, what did we get? 12 to 20 million illegals in 4 years. That's 3 to 5 million per year that were coming across during the Biden administration. We went from that to zero, not to, 5 million in a year to 180,000, which would be, holy cow, an astronomical improvement. Not nearly 5 million a year to 50,000, 5,000, 500. But an impossible thing, zero. That's how good Trump and Homan and DHS has been at the border. But the mass deportation, which is over 2 million, thanks in large part to the self-deportation that the president and the team set up, reconfiguring and kind of retrofitting the CBP One app that Biden used to parole illegal immigrants into the country, repurposing it and turning it into, this is how you get out of the country. And once you get there, we'll send you $1,000, which is going to be a lot less. It's going to be cheaper than it would have been to finding you here and deporting you. That's an extraordinarily important part of this whole thing. So President Trump, Tom Homan is right, has been the best border security president in American history. The deportation effort started out as being one of the most significant in history, and perhaps was going to ramp up to, getting 4 million, 5 million out in 2026. We got about 2 million or so in 2025 out, and now that we passed the one big beautiful bill and we have more ICE agents and more resources, we'll get a lot more, maybe double that amount in 2026. That's my hope, right? And yours too, as we look for the quote unquote largest mass deportation ever. That was the path that we were set on. But now it has been impeded because we have shown them how to defeat us and to defeat ICE. Cause enough chaos in the streets, riot, intimidate, assault, box in, drive vehicles at, physically accost enough ICE agents, and they're going to snap, blood is going to be shed, and then they're going to say, they got to go now. 2 people died. The playbook says that, yeah, we'll leave, despite the job not being done there. It's a problem. It's a very big problem. I want to get some other thoughts on that and get a couple of other stories in here before we're done too, since it is indeed a Free for All Friday. But before I do that, I want to remind you about my friends and our new foundational partner at Strictly Speaking Unfiltered, Americans for Prosperity and the Buckeye Blueprint. This episode is brought to you in part by this foundational partner that I absolutely am deeply indebted to and so proud to partner with. Donovan O'Neill, the state director of AFP Ohio, came to me and said, let's talk, Bob, on a daily basis about the Buckeye Blueprint because we want to be a part of it with your audience. And I said, done. Here's what we're talking about. We're talking about our state. We're talking about Ohio. I want to throw a screenshot up here too. Yeah, this is from, where'd it go? I have it up here. I swear I do. Yeah, there it is. These are just some statistics that I wanted to kind of highlight here. This is from the Buckeye Blueprint website, buckeyeblueprint.com. The buckeyeblueprint.com shows everything that we need, where we are now and what our goal has to be in Ohio to lead the nation and the right policies need to be implemented to get there. Buckeye Blueprint focuses on building a bigger, bolder, better Buckeye state by moving us from the middle of the Midwest to becoming number one in the country for economic freedom and for education opportunity, energy abundance, and a government that works for the people. These stats here, as you can see from BuckeyeBlueprint.com, we're 26th in terms of economic outlook, 21st in terms of freedom in the 50 states, 34th U.S. News and World Report. These key statistics: 25% of Ohioans volunteer, according to a study by AmeriCorps on volunteerism in the country. That's not enough. But the point being, this is a huge, huge agenda, and there are a lot of very, very hardworking people at Americans for Prosperity working to move the needle in Columbus with our state legislators, obviously working with the executive as well. Here's a little bit about what the Buckeye Blueprint is. These are the things that we care about, as we just kind of laid out for you. It's a huge, huge undertaking, and we've got to be a part of it. I want to be a part of it. And the fact that they came to us and said, hey, we want to be a partner of yours on Strictly Speaking Unfiltered means they want to be with you. Okay. Are you you know what? I don't even know if I was sharing that with you. Doggone it. I apologize. Yeah, here we go. I apologize. I did not share this with you at the time I was going through it. Trying to do two things at once here. But this is the BuckeyeBlueprint.com website that I wanted to promote for you here. This is Ohio. This is where we are. These are the things we're not doing well, things we can do so much better. There are those rankings that I talked about. Go to this website, BuckeyeBlueprint.com, and find out how you can volunteer, find out how you can support this very important organization that is partnering with us and bringing an opportunity for us to be impactful in the state of Ohio and beyond. So thank you to Buckeye Blueprint, or to Americans for Prosperity Ohio, and for the Buckeye Blueprint. So there you go. All right. Let me get into the chat here. All right. I'm sorry. I got to get rid of this now. These are always so difficult, or not always, but sometimes so difficult. All right. I do want to get into the chat here and see what people have to say about what we are talking about now. Do you see it as a success, or do you see this as a blueprint for failure? Speaking of Buckeye Blueprint, a blueprint in Minnesota for failure of ICE in other locales, because we are going to do something special in support of ICE here in the very near future in Northeast Ohio. Okay, this is one of the events, and I'm not going to give any trade secrets away yet until we have everything finalized and firmed up. But the Unfiltered insiders, my strategy war room folks who come into our Wednesday night meetings to strategize, we are putting together an ICE appreciation party. We're going to have an ICE appreciation event at a local establishment over the in the very, very near future, within the next few short weeks. We're putting it together now. It's going to be very, very inspirational and supportive of ICE. It's going to be a lot of fun for us as well. It's going to be great. I support ICE, proudly so. And I don't like what ICE is going to be facing now in some of these cities because of the decision that was made yesterday. I just think it's a mistake. All right, let me have a look, see what the folks are saying here in the chat. Okay, here we go. Drop the bomb or the ball? You know what, Charlie? That's a great question, because I said Tom Homan dropped the bomb yesterday, bombshell news, and he said, maybe drop the ball. I'm so reticent to say anything negative about Tom Homan because I think he's one of the best public servants this nation has seen in decades. I'm not kidding. He did this job, the hard job, when Obama was president. He did it when Bush was president. He did it during Trump, and he did it during Biden, and he's doing it during Trump again. He has served the last 4 presidential administrations in some capacity, as you know, heading up ICE or in DHS or in Border Patrol, whatever the case might be. He has always had a huge role. He is a public servant and a patriot, and he knows this stuff better than anybody else, way more than me. So maybe I'm off base here. But I don't think so. I think a political decision was made by President Trump and the team because the optics are starting to look bad. It may hurt them in the midterms. So we're going to pull the troops or the federal agents out of Minnesota and let the lunatics have their W. I don't like giving them a W because that's going to lead to another L for ICE agents that I support in other communities. That's what I really, truly believe. Let's see. Everyone that's hiding and a fugitive, says Charlie, a different Charlie, Charlie from Brownhelm. Everyone that is hiding and a fugitive automatically becomes a public safety threat because they don't want to get caught. That is very, very true. In fact, I'm glad you brought that up, Charlie, because I had a clip here from Caroline Levitt. Let me share this one. Caroline Levitt went after CBS earlier this week for suggesting that the only illegal aliens that should be allowed to be arrested by the Trump administration and by ICE, the only illegal aliens that should be permitted to be targeted should be violent criminals, okay, not regular criminals. And Caroline Levitt, and here's the actual clip. I want you to watch what she had to say here, because we have to explain these things like the left, like the Democrats and like CBS and the media are toddlers, because in so many ways they are. We have to explain this to them, that violent threat. There are a lot of people who are responsible for violence who didn't go out there and actually do the stabbing, the shooting, the assaulting, the carjacking. There are a lot of people who are the raping. There are a lot of people who are violent who don't do those things. Watch.
I've seen this CBS report floating around. There's a lot of liberal talking heads and pundits and Democrat elected politicians who think that this single story and these statistics and the way they are painted is somehow a shot at this administration. It is not. And let me correct the record. Number one, the Trump administration has been clear from day one that any illegal alien present in this country is subject to deportation. However, the priority, of course, is going after the convicted criminals, the worst of the worst, the murderers, the pedophiles, the rapists in this country. Interestingly, in the CBS story, what the Democrat talking heads on television are not saying is this line: nearly 60% of ICE arrestees over the past year had criminal charges or convictions. And among that population, the majority of the criminal charges or convictions are for nonviolent crimes. Oh, well, what are nonviolent crimes, you ask? This has coincided with what DHS has been saying all along, that approximately 70% of illegal aliens arrested under President Trump have pending criminal charges and or prior convictions. And these so-called nonviolent crimes: drug trafficking, distribution of child porn, burglary, fraud, DUI, embezzlement, solicitation of a minor, and human smuggling, just to name a few. So just because a crime is not violent in nature doesn't mean that crime is victimless.
Not only that, and this is something I have been banging the drum about for a very long time. Not only that, but possession of child pornography is a violent crime. What she just laid out there, child pornography being smuggled and distributed. The person distributing it is committing violence. The person consuming it, buying it, clicking it on the dark web, downloading it, is committing violence, because without that market being created for it, the children don't get abused. They need a massive amount of product. And in the world of these sick, degenerate, subhuman, satanic freaks, a child is a product. It's inventory. We need more inventory. We need more kids to abuse in the most barbaric ways imaginable for the enjoyment of the consumer, the freaks who actually download this stuff. So possession of child porn is a violent crime, because you are literally contributing to that child being violently abused. How is that in any way unclear? Same thing with drug trafficking. Oh, all I did was move the drugs from here to here. Really? Well, how many people were killed or harmed at the point of rival cartels and in communities deciding who gets to move their drugs into here, here, and here? How many people got shot and killed in the process of the drug distribution, the manufacturing, the shipping, the distribution, the sale, the dealing, and so on and so forth? How many victims get hurt? And then how many users of those drugs that are trafficked into the United States, when they are on drugs, end up committing violent crimes because they get addicted and they don't have any more money, and they lose their jobs through their addictions, and they've got to go commit violent crimes to get more money to buy more drugs. In other words, it's a chain. It's a domino effect. All of those crimes that would not be listed as, quote, violent crimes have violence connected to them because of their participation in it. That's what Caroline Levitt had to say here. And that's what's really, really important. the drug trafficking, the embezzlement. I mean, all of these things have violent crime attached to them. And nobody talks about that. I was so glad to see that Caroline Leavitt did. I'm sorry I got off on that tangent because of Charlie in Braunhelm, who said, every fugitive becomes a public safety threat. There are a lot of people who are public safety threats who are not necessarily committing violent crimes at that moment. Very important. All right, let's see. I was very disappointed when I heard that ICE was suspending operations in Minnesota, but I think they'll be back there for sure. Maybe. Because when they bring them back, what happens? Tim Walz sends the legions out there again to impede, to obstruct, to do this, that, and the other thing. Lois Irene said, yes, I heard the mayor claimed ICE leaving a victory. Of course it is. And he's right. He's right. I mean, I've got conservatives all over the internet trying to spin themselves into a freaking circle, trying to say, oh, no, this is a victory. My friend Jack Windsor from the Ohio Press Network posted that this is a big victory. I called bullshit. It is not a victory. The fact that we found 3,334 children, that's a victory. The fact that we arrested, a few thousand of the illegal aliens that were being targeted, that's a victory. The fact that there are still 16,000 of them, according to Tom Homan yesterday, left, and we're pulling out, is a defeat. The fact that the people are screaming, ICE out now, get out Nazis, get out Gestapos, get out Gestapo. The fact that they are now watching them get out and leave, they're going to cheer and they're going to throw a parade. Yes, it's a victory for them. There's no other way to see that. Why aren't those people prosecuted for insurrection? Because they have done exactly that. I agree. NCN. I agree completely. It is insurrection. The true obstruction of and interference with official government business, and in particular law enforcement. It is insurrection. Marty says you can never bend the knee to the liberal mob. They bent the knee. Yes, they did. And I got to keep saying this because I don't want anybody to misunderstand. Yes, I still support Donald Trump. He's a hero. What he's done to secure the border and start this deportation is amazing. I still support and love Tom Homan. Tom Homan is an American patriot par excellence. He's one of the best to ever do it. But I think this is the wrong call. It's a very, very wrong call. Repub always want to be liked, so they cave. Ooh, they said bad stuff about me. I've got to cave. Yeah, I think the optics and the worry about voter approval on this issue is serious. Remember, the media is on the side of the lunatics, and they're going to paint ICE and paint the administration in as negative a manner as possible in order to achieve their agenda. And so I think that's a big part of this. Yeah, and they saw that happening in an election year. Why does ICE announce they're going to do a surge? Just quietly do it. Well, yeah, that's true. Why do they have to name it Metro Surge and draw the attention to it? I mean, people are going to notice as soon as they see a bunch of, masked, paramilitary uniformed agents out there doing their jobs. It's going to happen anyway, so they're probably just getting out in front of it. Perception is more potent than reality. Safer for ICE to just do their job without announcing they're going here or there. Yeah, I get it. I don't think if something happens to another American citizen, it is on ICE. It'll be on Fry and Walz. Yeah, true. But what I'm saying is, if in Minneapolis, St. Paul, one of the criminal illegals that was on the list that is not apprehended because we bailed, that individual from that list, and it can be shown, commits a violent crime against somebody in Minneapolis, St. Paul, yes, it will be on Fry and Walz, but it will also be on us because we bent the knee to Fry and Walz. We will have been the ones that allowed our troops to be driven out by their maniacal blueprint. That's just reality. Them Antifa bastards took a licking. A lot of these dopes will be thinking twice now. They ran into a hard fist. They were so mad at ICE resisting them. Now we got our scalps that can ride on. Next. Okay, it's a positive look at it, I suppose. And I want to be positive. I'm just telling you the way things look and sound and feel right now. When I was in New Orleans for Mardi Gras, cops arrested anyone who touched a police horse and others. Exactly. Yes, they do that. They absolutely do that. Anything that is even remotely aggressive to law enforcement as it's being carried out is immediately, boom, you're getting tackled, you're getting zip tied, and you are getting a ride to the jail, and you're going to be there a bit. That's exactly correct. That's what had to happen here from day one. And I started saying that on day one. Why are they letting these people do this? And then just because you'll see videos, viral videos of agents and CBP and others grabbing some of the obstructors and impeders and so forth, and grab them and throwing them out of the way. And we're in the videos, all the captions and all the comments say, great job, officers, great job, ICE and so on and so forth. Give it to them, let them have it. But then they walk away. And the only thing that the protester got for his trouble was thrown to the ground. Now they're back up and doing it again. They've got to be thrown to the ground and tied up and left there and waiting for the paddy wagon to come and haul their ass away. We weren't doing enough to really arrest them. Don't just push them out of the way and yell at them loudly. That had to be done, and it wasn't done, which is what allowed them to come in so much more aggressively. This is coming to Ohio, right? You know that when eventually the appeals court overturns the Haitian ruling by that idiot judge, and the Haitians don't self-deport, ICE is going to be here. ICE is probably going to be in Columbus sooner rather than later as well, not only looking for the illegal aliens there, but also the same fraud that Tom Homan announced ICE and other federal agents are going to stay on the ground in Minnesota for is to continue the investigation of the fraud. There's going to be the same type of, federal force on the ground in Columbus as well. And you know how radically left Columbus is. I mean, Ohio State University itself, you know how radically left it is. What do you think is going to happen when ICE shows up in central Ohio? Hell, if they show up here in Northeast Ohio, you know what the nuts are going to do. And again, the blueprint has been drawn. If they insurrect enough, probably not the right way to say that, talking about an insurrection, but if they obstruct and impede and agitate enough, they'll drive them out, is what the belief is going to be. There's no question about it. CMG says maybe ICE will sneak back in. Okay, yeah, if they do that, if they announce a surge is leaving, but then they kind of put on a show and an exit, but then some of them come back in a little bit with less, fanfare and ceremony, they can kind of sneak in and do their jobs. Maybe that'd be a nice thing. DHS drew down the surge. ICE will remain in Minnesota at its normal mission directive. Can't wait to see where the surge goes next. C-Bus, yeah, okay, Jimbo, that's what I was just talking about. Yep. Columbus it's going to happen here too. 2010 census reported we had approximately 50 million illegals, another 30 to 50 million. We have a problem indeed. Yeah, that's why we hired President Trump and Tom Homan to stage the most comprehensive and largest mass deportation ever for that reason. Yes, Trump is still building the wall, 2,000 miles scheduled to be finished in 2029. Who knew we still had so much to go? I did. Especially because so many of the materials that were bought to construct that wall, once they stole the election in 2020, Biden allowed those materials to be sold off for pennies on the dollar. They were, or to rust, laying in the desert, ready to be erected. There's massive steel beams for part of the border wall, and Biden just got rid of them. I do wish the ICE surge destroyed Antifa. That would have been nice. Damn right, it would have been. Operational success, optical failure again. I'm wondering if they're backing down because of the 2026 November election. Buckeye Therese, yeah, they are. That's why I totally believe it's optics. I absolutely believe that. They're worried about the way the media is spinning this and the way it's being portrayed, is that ICE and the Trump administration killed Renee Good and Alex Preddy. That's what this, whole thing comes down to. How does this look, and did it change public opinion? And when you look at the polls and the surveys, it did to an extent, with the media going all in on this narrative and the left-wing Democrats on Capitol Hill going all in on this narrative. They were worried about how this is going to affect centrist voters, and middle-of-the-road voters may indeed see things, a little bit differently now. And we're going to need all of them. Obviously, in the middle, they're going to be the deciders on whether we control Congress this coming November. I guarantee that is a big part of it. Whole operation was not successful. It was interrupted and abandoned. Sarah, what an interesting phrasing. Trees equals successful. Woods equals unsuccessful. Yeah, that's a pretty good metaphor. They backed down in Portland, Chicago, and now Minneapolis. It's an uphill battle just to get the average illegal border crosser when it's this hard to get the criminal illegals. They're not even talking about the average ones, because you're right. That's why the whole mission has been worst first. We're going after the worst first. That's going to be our focus here. You know, the ones with criminal records. We're not going after the dishwashers and the lawn, you know, the landscapers and the, you know, construction day laborers and so forth, and the, you know, the families and everything else. But the bottom line is, you know what? You should be, because that's what we voted for. That's exactly what we voted for. We voted for all of them to be deported because we have tens of millions of them here. Yes, go get the worst first, but get them all while you're at it. It's not harmless to have 20 or 30 or 40 million illegal aliens in your community. It's not. Your kids can't learn in school the same way when they've got massive numbers of non-English speakers taking up space and money and resources in their classrooms. You can't get an appointment with your doctor. You can't get seen because of your emergency in the emergency room because it's overcrowded with a whole bunch of illegal aliens there who pay zero for health care, but cannot be turned away when they have an emergency and they're in the emergency room. The resources, welfare, and then I haven't even talked about the fraud. It was a disappointing day yesterday, is my point here. Do I still believe in President Trump, the agenda, America first? 1,000%. Do I still believe in Tom Homan as the right man for the job? 1,000,000,000%. Do I think yesterday was a mistake? Unfortunately and sadly, yes, I do. All right. I need to take a quick time out here because I want to tell you about my friend Mark King and Keeping Medicare Simple. They have done an amazing job, have the folks at Keeping Medicare Simple, of taking care of our seniors at a time in which, a lot of them just don't understand what is available, when the open periods are for changing, when they can start Medicare and so forth. Mark makes that all simple. Mark King and Keeping Medicare Simple have a proud designation as a foundational partner and supporter and sponsor of, strictly speaking, Unfiltered. And I'm happy to tell you that part of today's episode is brought to you by them. I've been telling people to go to see Mark King, referring Medicare recipients to him for probably over 5 years now. I want to say this might be our 6th year. And the reason I do that is because Mark is amazing and he can explain things to them about Medicare in plain English that they'll understand. He's not on the clock, okay? And by the way, he doesn't charge you for any of this, all right? When you go to Mark King for advice on this and he helps you choose a plan, you don't pay him a nickel. That's really important to know too. There's no fee involved here, but Mark will help get you set up on the right plan for you, and he'll explain it without rushing you because he's got to get to the next person. He'll take time and make sure every question you have is answered. That's what makes Mark different. He will meet your individual needs. Honest guidance from somebody who's been doing this for nearly 40 years. You want help? Call Mark. Here's the phone number. I'll put it on the screen right now. Yeah, call Mark at 440-832-8936. Just have a few questions. Maybe you can solve it in a phone call. Maybe you can solve it in a video chat. Maybe you need to come into the office and have a meeting. Maybe he'll meet you for a cup of coffee at a local diner. Mark will hook you up. 440-832-8936. Online, the website is very simple and very user-friendly. It's keepingmedicaresimple.com, keepingmedicaresimple.com. When it comes to Medicare, I've been telling Medicare recipients for years that I trust Mark King, the man, and you can too. Thank you to Mark for being such a great partner. All right. I've been promising this, and I want to deliver this now. Earlier this week, I had a one-on-one with one of my favorite people to talk to, and he is Colonel Kurt Schlichter. Colonel Kurt, you'll hear a lot more about him as I bring you this interview. But Colonel Kurt Schlichter is a gem. He's entertaining. He is brilliant, and he's one of the leading conservative pundits in media today. He writes for townhall.com. And he is he's an author, and he's going to tell you a whole lot more about himself. But this is one of my favorite interviews I've done in a long time. I had reserved this exclusively for Unfiltered insiders, paid supporters of the locals community, which you can be a part of, by the way, when you click that join button that you see right now underneath the video screen, wherever it is that you're watching. But Kurt Schlichter, I saved this for them, for the Unfiltered insiders, for the better part of the last week, in fact, for the last 4 days. But now I want to bring it to everybody else so that you can get a little taste of this as well. Keep the chat going. I will join you in there as we listen to the brilliant Kurt Schlichter. I will get it. I promise. Got to get the volume up here. And here we go. All right, thanks everybody for checking in. Strictly Speaking Unfiltered. Our guest today is one of my favorite people to talk to and one of my favorite people to listen to, really, because he is just so overwhelming and overflowing with common sense and reality. And he just doesn't mind sticking it right up the you-know-whats of every leftist that he sees. Kurt Schlichter. He is a retired Army colonel. He was personally recruited to write conservative commentary by Andrew Breitbart himself. Credentials, that's it. We could stop right there. But he's also a trial lawyer in Los Angeles. He's got a master's in strategic studies from the United States Army War College. He's a frequent guest. You see him on Fox News, Newsmax, and everywhere else. He appears with some of the other best luminaries. It says so right in his bio, in the conservative sphere. Maybe most impressively, he's an author. And he's the author of People's Republic, Kelly Turnbull novels, and the novel The Attack. As an Army officer, he commanded a cavalry recon squadron. This also says this in his bio. And served in Desert Storm in Kosovo, as well as multiple disaster operations. He lives in the South Bay area of LA, where his hobbies include red meat, red wine, and as I said, pissing off leftists. That's who Kurt Schlichter is, and that's who we bring on now here on Strictly Speaking Unfiltered. Colonel Kurt, welcome.
Thank you. Hey, I was also a stand-up comic for a few years.
I skipped over that in the little bio.
I know, right?
Reading. Yeah, because I didn't know that. I mean, that's...
Yeah.
Now,
it never occurred to me to do just one. I'm literally on my third career now because I stopped being a lawyer, although I still have my license and I can still do it. I'm writing full time now, and it's just I'm just one of those. I'm just a quintessential guy who grew up in California in the 70s and 80s, where it never occurred to you that you couldn't do exactly what you wanted all the time. People came to California, to live their dreams. I came here when I was 6 or 7. It never occurred to me not to. So I did, you read all these things, but to me, it's just like, well, at the time, I just kind of wanted to be a lawyer, and I wanted to be an Army officer, and I wanted to be a stand-up, and I wanted to write books, and why wouldn't you? And that's a very old California attitude. It's not a modern California attitude. It's an attitude California needs to get back.
Tell me the difference. Tell me the old California versus the new California attitude.
Every TV show you ever watched in the 60s and 70s was filmed in Southern California. Mm-hmm. That was America. Okay, sunshine, palm trees. You could just go do what you want. You go down to the beach. You're surrounded by beautiful people. You go to Hollywood. You'll see a star. If you wanted to, hold on. It's messing with me now. Wait, let me see if we can, hold on. Damn thing.
Colonel Kurt.
I hate these days. I hate this particular system. I just do. It is so annoying.
What kind of
there
system?
We go.
What kind of system are you working with over there? What do you got? It's just a standard webcam laptop, or what do you got going?
Well,
on?
I have a no. It's this particular streaming system always screws up.
The streaming system, the restream system. We're going to throw those.
Because I do so many hits, I become kind of an aficionado. I know which ones work and which ones are a giant pain in the you know what.
Well, I'll give you a witness here, a testimonial, because I just did an interview with Brigitte Gabriel the other day, and it was the third attempt because the same thing happened. Whatever reason, she said she does Newsmax all the time. They're using like Teams and Zoom and all these, and every time she gets a restream, she said, it craps out. So we've had
I don't know why things have got, and this goes back to my point. Things have gotten worse. A couple of years ago, the technology worked, and then people improved it, and now it doesn't work as well. And that's like California. Oh, California, too much opportunity, too much sun, too many happy people achieving what they want. We need to fix that. And of course, I was here when they fixed it. I was here when they burned it down. I was out in the LA riots with a rifle, on the good team, with the Army.
You were deployed. You were deployed in '92, right?
April. Was it 28th?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was 3rd Battalion, 160th Infantry in Inglewood.
Holy
Now, if you know the geography of California, of Los Angeles, you know that Inglewood was ground zero for the riots.
Yeah.
So I had to drive in there, and at the time, I had come back from Germany about a year before, and I had sold my firearms, so I didn't have to re-import them into the United States. So I had no gun when I drove from Pasadena into Inglewood during the LA riots in uniform.
Where'd you get one? What'd you do?
I drove my Chevy Beretta as quickly as I could. I remember on Rodeo Drive, not the good Rodeo, the crappy one south of 10.
I didn't know there were two.
There are. One's upscale, the other was on fire. I roll up to a police checkpoint, and there's an LAPD guy, and he's got a Remington 870 shotgun, and he walks up to me. All right, I'm in uniform. I'm a lieutenant. And of course, this is my 3rd drill with the California Army National Guard. So I'm like the one guy who's 160 pounds, whose uniform is totally pressed. I got my little Desert Storm patch on my, or actually on my right shoulder. And he looks at me and he goes, "What do you think you're doing?" And I said, "My unit's in there. I've got to go in there." He goes, "Do you have a gun?" And I said, "No." He goes, "You sure you want to go in there?" And I'm saying, "No, I'm not, but I don't have a choice." He goes, "Drive real fast." I made it okay. My battalion commander actually, who became a very close friend later, he actually stopped and chased a guy who was shooting someone else that he saw on the way in. I mean, everything was on. It was amazing. It was, when people are like, you don't need guns, society's not going to fall apart. Dude, I've literally been there when society fell apart.
Yeah.
And the only reason we didn't get overrun is everybody else brought their guns. We had a guy who was a postal worker, and he walks into the S3 operations shop.
You're just playing into
absolutely serious.
You're playing into the old postal narrative.
I know, right? With a duffel bag, dumps it out on the table. It's all these guns. He goes, "Take what you need." Because, right, being the Army, they decided, well, you aren't going to need ammunition. It's easier to count if we all centralize it at Paso Robles, which is 300 miles to the north. So you've got all these M16s, but you don't have any 5.56 ammo because it's 6 hours, about a 4-hour truck drive away. So we were literally on our own with our own homemade guns for the first 12 hours.
That is wild.
Yeah.
So we'll come back to California then, because I did not know this about you. I'm going to come back to the California because, last time I talked to Larry Elder, I asked him the same thing. I said, Sage, you're living in the worst state in the country, second worst now that Minnesota is what it is. You are living there and you've lived there forever. And I know your history and I get it, but why? How many people have left that freaking hellhole to go to Texas and to go to Tennessee and so forth? Why are you still there? And I got an answer from him, and I'll get yours. Go ahead, give me yours. Why are you still there?
Half of it is nostalgia, half of it is tax purposes. If I leave my house here, and I change my residence, I lose the California appreciation because I'm going to pay taxes on it. So I'm kind of trapped here by my tax.
But aren't the state taxes there through the roof? The gas taxes,
but they are. So at some point,
and
I've got to figure out, what I want to do.
And Texas is tax free, no state tax free.
It is, but it's and you're right. Everybody's gone. We went a week where we saw 3 groups of people. We went out to dinner with 3 different groups of people who were all conservative, and it blew our minds because we hadn't been able to do that. All our friends have left. Ben Shapiro left. I used to do. Larry O'Connor left. I used to do a show.
Joe Rogan left.
Huh?
Joe Rogan left.
Well, I didn't hang out with Joe Rogan, but I used to do a show.
I would have thought you had, since you did the whole stand-up comedy thing. I
did not. I did not know him during that time. I was doing stuff in Southern California. That was then I deployed after 9/11, and we had a kid, and I wasn't going to sit. Arena and I were not going to sit around smoky bars all night.
No, I get it.
And I wasn't dedicated to that life, but it served me very well, made me a much better speaker, much better lawyer, because, I would go in front of a jury, I'd ask them to either give me money or not give somebody money. And and when you're a stand-up, you're going and asking for laughs, and you got to earn them. And it taught me, I was always funny. I wrote jokes you remember those bar trivia things in the 90s? You go to a bar, NTN. You go to a bar, it has trivia things, and you're actually playing over the phone lines with everybody else in America.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I wrote the TV ones.
You what?
I wrote the TV.
You wrote them?
Trivia questions.
Really?
Which would be a trivia question and a joke. It'd be like, something about William Shatner, then I'd have a joke about how he was fat and a ham.
That's perfect.
And I made $350 each, and I made enough to buy my second BMW.
No kidding. That's amazing. Now,
I was writing jokes in the 90s.
How old were you when you started doing stand-up? Either writing jokes or actually doing the stand-up?
34? I was about 34.
Right. So when's the last time you performed?
2005.
Okay. So
no, 2006. I came back, and I came back from the Kosovo after like a year. And somebody said, you got to come. We're doing this benefit for veterans. You got to come do it. And there'll be some big names there. Paul Rodriguez, I think, is there, and Tom Arnold. And I got up, and there were military guys too.
How'd you get along with Arnold?
Badly. He was telling everybody about how he was sober, and that was his whole joke. And then one of my friends who came to see me, I actually had people who would come to see me, caught him like doing something in the bathroom. I'm not sure exactly what it was. I didn't see it myself. And I can't say he was drunk, but I hope he was drunk, because that would be a better excuse. And I went out before him, and I said, look, we got a lot of heroes tonight, a lot of guys whose bravery should inspire everybody, but there's no one whose courage is greater than Tom Arnold's, because he was married to Roseanne. Got a huge laugh. He got mad.
Really?
He got mad because I was funny. And I've talked to other stand-ups that had the same problem. So he comes out and he does like 15-minute set on how I suck, which did not get a huge, A, it wasn't funny. B,
didn't like it.
Got a poor response. But that was the last time I did it. But, I do public speaking, and you can tell I'm a stand-up. If you read my stuff.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, yeah.
It's in joke format, because everything in a stand-up set should be set up, punch, tag. You're either setting up a joke, you're closing the joke, that's the punch, or you're tagging the joke, hitting it again, right? And the joke hits at the end of a sentence, right? So when it's funny, it should be funny, and then you should have a period. And that's how I think, and that's how I write from stand-up. If you read my thing,
I hear your voice when I read your work. When I just put it up on the screen, I don't know if you see it. When I read your columns, I hear it in your voice, and I did not know you did stand-up, and now it makes sense, because I could tell the applause lines, I could tell the pause lines, I could tell the laugh lines. Absolutely right. Wow, that makes sense.
Yes, everything. Yeah, and this is a lawyer thing too, because you have page limits or word limits. Everything has to hit. Every line should be something funny or interesting or teach you something. Every line has to hit. And it's same as a lawyer when you're writing a brief. Remember, you win on briefs. You don't win arguing. Except at trial. Everything has to hit. And that's how I write my books. All good parts, right? I like to think of it as like the Replacements' Let It Be album. Every song is good. There's no filler. It's all good. It's the first Clash album. All the songs are good. You don't have any, and if it's not good, you just don't put it in. And it drives me crazy, Bob. I'll watch like Netflix, and they'll stuff 5 episodes into 10 shows. And then you'll get this tangent where they're going off, and he's like, the hero, instead of going out, and he's like, instead of like fighting the villains or showing you how a crime syndicate works or something interesting, it'll be about him and how his dad didn't love him enough. And you're like, why is this here? What's this do besides fill time? So everything I do is very lean and mean. And if you read People's Republic, and you should, or Panama Red, which is the newest one, I think it's over my right shoulder, left shoulder. I can't tell the difference. My other right, as my
I think it's on both sides. One of them, or unless you got two different books.
I got one.
Okay, there you go.
Hold on, let me move it.
Yeah, there you go.
Great covers by Sean Salter, another Hollywood guy who moved to Tennessee.
That's where you got to go, man. That's where you got to go. You got to. And I get the nostalgia about LA.
I like Texas.
You like what a lot? Kansas? Oh, Texas.
I like Texas.
Okay. I'm
enjoying Houston. I have a very good
time. What is it with you? Why are you drawn to the left-wing cities? I mean, you're in LA, and then the leftist city, well, Austin is the worst in Texas, but Houston is all blue. You know, in a red state, it's blue as hell.
Well, look, you go on my street, and you can tell who's not blue by the flag out front.
Yeah.
So about half of them have flags, and I'm not worried because I'm always carrying a gun in Texas.
You probably need it more. You probably need it more in LA. You probably need it more there.
Well, you got to understand, California is a feudal state, and I am part of the nobility. I'm a lawyer, right? Do you think criminals are allowed in my neighborhood where all the women have "hate has no home here" signs in the front yard? Do you think if they saw a black person walking down the street, they wouldn't start dialing the phone and calling the cops?
Okay, fair point.
They are absolutely liberal about everything else, and they are freaking Bull Connor when it comes to their neighborhood.
Well, it's like your girl. It's like your girl, Billie Eilish. Oh, no one is illegal on stolen land. She's got a $14 million gated estate where nobody's allowed to come near her.
Yeah, where I live was literally owned by an Indian tribe.
Right.
Yeah, you see anybody around here giving back their $2 million townhouse? I live behind the freaking wall. Life is very good if you got some dough and you live in the right place and you're of the right social stratum. I go to good restaurants.
Being represented by, Gavin Newsom and you know what I mean? And virtually everybody in the legislature. And what did they just do in response to Texas with the redistricting? I mean, what? California is what? Probably 65-35, Democrat to Republican, 60-40. And you got no representation in Congress. No.
I don't have a beef with gerrymandering because gerrymandering is a political process. I don't blame them for being political. I blame Republicans like in Indiana for being too big of sissies to go and do it. Look, it's a purely political process. Everyone's like, well, we have to have a good government way of trying to figure out what's fair. I don't want fair. Okay, I want to win. I'm not interested. I'm not a teenage girl. I don't talk in the language of some sort of amorphous cosmic justice.
But how you much either win or you lose? Off that, like, they're screaming about redistricting and gerrymandering in Texas. In Massachusetts, unless I heard it wrong or remembering it wrong, there are 0 members of Congress that are Republican, and Massachusetts is 30 or 40% Republican, but they got no representation.
It doesn't make me mad because they can do it. I mean, it's a political act, so be political about it. But what I hate is, you got one side being political and the rest of the side being sissies. Well, I've created an arbitrary principle where we're not allowed to win because reasons. Oh, where do you find this principle? Where's it written down? Here. I just invented it and I feel good about myself. You're not a hero. Look, the Mike Pence Republicans want to be the heroes of the young adult novel that is their life, but they're not heroes. They're weak and they're stupid. And Mike Pence showed he was weak when he backed down to the trans lobby. Remember that about 10 years ago? Yeah. And he backed down to the stolen election. I thought it was savvy. I thought it was savvy of Trump to pick him as vice president, and I thought he did okay for most of the time. But this whole gentlemanly loser thing reasserted itself. The same thing that was so annoying about W. Remember how we defended W? defended him when they were doing the most horrible things. They were depicting him as a chimp, which I have been, informed is the worst possible thing you can do to a human being. Recently, you remember that we defended, but I will not lower myself to defend myself. Okay, fast forward to his fat, stupid brother, right? Runs in the primary, and we reject him. We're like, no, thank you. We're gonna go a different way. And did Trump loyally go, well, I'm going to still stand behind the guys who defended me. They had my back, and I'm going to have theirs. No, we had his back, and he shoved a knife in ours. He starts palling around with Obama and Clinton and talking about how, oh, well, I never. That's not who we are. The very people who defended me are horrible dirtbags. Will you all be my new friends? And of course they were.
Yeah. Pence.
I don't want to hear any more about their principles. Anybody who talks to you about how you need to start living according to their principles is trying to treat you like Ned Beatty on a canoe trip.
Jesus Christ. I didn't need that. Kurt, Pence played his role though, didn't he? I mean, in getting Trump over the top, because Trump is he's coastal playboy and you got a Midwestern Christian, Midwestern state, governor like Pence. I mean, he played his part for a while,
He did right up until the end. And my beef is not that, he wasn't going to go to Congress and wave a magic wand and, I've got this one neat trick that's going to win the election for Trump. That was all stupid in my view. He was such a prissy, obnoxious tool about it. Suddenly he sees a chance to impress the guys at the Washington Post by dumping on his own people. That's very different than saying, no, I'm not going to walk in there and somehow demand a recount through the power of sovereign citizen fringe.
All he had to do was go in there and say, we're going to have a 10-day freaking audit of the states with a lot of irregularities.
I don't even think he had the power to do that. But what offended me was, and his continuous, look at me, look at my virtue thing. You can say no to someone and be their friend, right? If somebody has too much to drink, you're like, dude, you don't need another. Put it down. I'll drive you home. That's okay. All right. They're going to be mad at you for a couple minutes. Then the next morning, they're going to thank you because they didn't get a DUI or run over a 5-year-old crossing the street. But if you lord it over for the rest of, I did save your booty by not letting you drive home drunk the other night. Okay. After the second or third time, it's like, dude,
fair point.
Shut up.
That's well said. That's a good metaphor for it too. Tell me, have you ever in your head, and I never did until just now, I swear to God, I'm thinking about Mike Pence. I haven't seen him in a very long time. He's very low profile now, but who is, his face is everywhere all the time right now is Tim Walz. And I just had a side-by-side in my head. Is there a similarity between Tim Walz and Mike Pence, or am I just making that crap up?
No, they're different.
Yeah, I know, but I mean the sissy aspect though that you were just talking about. They're both just.
It's a different kind. One is weak and arguably straight. Tim Walz has a very non-fabulous gay vibe.
They call them jazz hands.
They call him jazz hands. It's a creepy vibe. Creepy. It's like, I don't know, that guy being a coach, not great. Now, we have many fabulous gay members of our administration. Steve Besson is spectacular. Does he come across as creepy? Not to me. Not at all. I'm from LA. I got a pretty good creepy detector. He comes along as a guy who knows what he wants, knows what he's going to do, has no interest in hurting or exploiting anybody else, and he's very smart. That's Rick Grinnell, too.
Bingo.
Who is another Californian and a terrific guy, and I would love to see him the president or vice president.
Guy Benson's not a part of the administration, but he's in the conservative media, and Guy Benson is another guy.
The guy is a wonderful guy. I've known Guy forever. We love Guy. But Waltz has kind of a creepiness to him and it's a distinctly liberal male.
Well, and it's a Marxist. It's a Marxist thing too. His love for China. How many trips did he make there?
Yeah,
bringing back Mao's Little Red books and distributing them to people here. I mean, so he's an effeminate kind of, Marxist. There's just something really weird about it. And he was almost a freaking heartbeat away from the presidency. Holy
yes, he
cow.
Was. The military side too. It's very offensive to us military guys. He was a command sergeant major. That means something. The command sergeant major. A command sergeant major, my command sergeant major was the only guy who could come into my office, shut the door, and say, "Sir, you are blanking up," which he did. And I was a very good battalion commander, squadron commander. I commanded a cavalry squadron. I was very good, Kurt said modestly. Of course, you want a trial lawyer who doesn't think he's the best, or an officer. And I remember there was one personnel decision.
Oh no.
All right, are we back? Oh, we're back.
Yeah.
On the wonderful system.
You left off with one personnel decision.
There was one personnel decision that I made that he recommended against. It was allowing one guy to be a company commander for Bravo Troop, I think. And he's like, "Sir, I don't think you should do him. I don't think it's going to work out." "Nah, he'll be fine." There's one thing I didn't listen to him, and that was the one company commander I had to relieve. He was absolutely right. So a command sergeant major is a legendary guy. He is the guy who's always there, the guy who knows everything. They give you're a 16, 17-year officer when you take command a battalion. He's like 28. This may not be his last assignment, but it's close to his last assignment.
So what does it tell you that Walls had that rank, had that position?
Well, he didn't really have it. He was acting. I was an acting brigade. I don't go around going, "I was a brigade commander." No, I make it clear. I was an acting brigade commander. I left and retired before I took a brigade in my own name, but I did do the job. He did the job too, and then didn't go to war with his guys.
Yeah,
and I'm like, And if it was something like, "Well, I was staying home because my wife was doing chemotherapy." "Oh, okay. All right."
So he's playing.
Yeah, I get it.
He's playing general now. He's playing general. I said he's playing general now. He's ordering all of his infantrymen, all the blue-haired weirdos and the awfuls and everybody else into the streets. And this is where I really wanted to go with you. And I started to get there when you told me about the LA riots. I didn't know that you were in uniform. So you have a very unique perspective of being, in uniform in the middle of riots, like what we're seeing in Minneapolis right now. So as you're watching all of this.
It was much worse in Los Angeles. What we saw, remember, what happened in Los Angeles was widespread civil disorder. It was a kinetic issue. It was kinetic. Mm-hmm. That is, the action and the damage came from the fighting. All right. It was physical damage to stuff was the problem. People getting killed, things getting burned. Los Angeles riots was kinetic. This is primarily, what happened in Minneapolis is primarily an information operation. In kinetic, you force your will upon the other by killing him until he surrenders, essentially, or destroying his equipment to neuter him. In information, you essentially force the other side to do what you want by creating conditions that influence him. In Minneapolis, we had a number of very small groups of people with a lot of coverage. You notice how the cameras are already very up close?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it looks like there's a lot of stuff going on. You pull those cameras back 50 yards, and it's like 20 people and 20 cops. And it's not always that.
Then how are they doing so much damage? How are they? Well, I don't mean property damage. I mean impeding and obstructing the jobs of the agents to the point where they're getting in the way enough that they're getting shot
they're physically getting in the way a little. Yeah. But they're still hauling people out of there left and right. They are not preventing it. What they're trying, they don't have the capacity to physically prevent ICE from going and grabbing these people. They have what they're focusing on is trying to get the Trump administration to order its people to stop doing stuff. And Trump outmaneuvered him. He sends in Homan to fix the situation, and Homan says, we're going to drop our profile a little bit while doing the same thing. And he's still throwing people out.
Yeah. But are they getting enough out? Like I saw a stat last week, Texas, as of last week or the week before, whatever it was, had deported by ICE, not self-deports, but by ICE, 88,000 so far of the X number of million that have been grabbed.
Yeah.
88,000. And I don't see any of the stuff we're seeing on the news, that's going on in Minneapolis. Minneapolis was around 5,000. Minnesota as a state was around 5,000 at the time. And yet all of this. So while you're saying they're still grabbing them and throwing people out, I'm asking, like, would it be 10,000 if the a-holes weren't all doing what they're doing?
I don't think it'd be significantly more. It might be 10, 20% more. What they're trying to do is create an atmosphere where we decide the blue cities are off limits. That's their information operation. Yeah. That's the purpose. It's not to keep, the
sanctuary cities.
Yeah. It's not to keep Jorge the child molester in America, though they want to keep Jorge the child molester in America. It is to convince the Trump administration it's far too much trouble to go and do this in blue cities. Trump refuses to play that wisely. He is not giving into the information. It's a defeated information operation. And if you can see video recently of Minneapolis cops actually defending stuff.
Yeah.
Very
recently.
And I know a little about Minneapolis. I know where the, for instance, where those cops were defending was University of Minnesota. Is right across the street from it. So there are certain areas that, Tim Walz is smart enough to know that Minnesota is packed with University of Minnesota grads who all vote. And it's one thing to be out having, tussles out on Nicollet Avenue where nobody lives except the people at the Leering Center. It's quite another to have it around their kids at the University of Minnesota. So in that way, it's much like California. There are enclaves where you're not allowed to play games. You can't play games in my neighborhood. They're not going to tolerate that. Now, there were some idiots up in Manhattan Beach standing by the road screaming about how they hate everything and, U.S. out of North America, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But they were very well behaved. I mean, most of them seemed afraid they'd break their hip. But
isn't it funny how many of them are like that? Yeah. So Kurt, give me though, again, from the perspective of an experienced soldier, and you were on the ground with some mailman's gun during the LA riots. Give me your perspective of the shootings of both Good and what's his name, Preddy.
Well, Preddy. I got my M16 pretty quick. It's a different feel driving around Los Angeles with an automatic rifle, which an M16 is. We didn't have that burst feature. They had a little thing on it to try and keep you from moving it to auto. I broke it off. I'll decide what my firepower needs are.
I love that.
They keep saying that these guys, these ICE cops are untrained, right? Yeah. Keep hearing that they're untrained.
One of their arguments, because there was a massive, once the one big beautiful bill passed that funded a lot more of them, they figured, well, they're just going to, funnel them through and just a 30-day thing, and now they're out there without any real experience. So that's what their argument is.
Well, in fact, in these shootings, they reacted exactly as trained. The disconnect is between their perceptions. The communist agitators perceive themselves as the heroes of the young adult novel in which they're starring, and that they should be treated in a certain way. The cops treated them like criminals because that's what they were. If you are driving at a cop, he's going to shoot you. I have cop friends who have shot people who tried to drive at them. They're going to kill you.
As well they should. They have a lethal weapon. They have a lethal weapon pointed at them.
Yes.
If that weapon is a handgun or it's a 3,500-pound SUV, it's pointed at them, and here it comes. What are you going to do?
Right? And the underlying presumption with this bizarre lesbian communist weirdo was, well, at some level you should have known that she wasn't really a criminal. That all of this is just kind of acting. You know, she was trying to get away or whatever. And and that's of course silly. I mean, it works on some people. Some people, you know, are like, oh, my, you're the worst thing ever. People who think about it a little are like, well, it's regrettable for her. And this Pretty guy, look, I carry a gun when I'm legally able to. I don't, and when you meet me and I have a gun, I'm the nicest Kurt you ever met. I'm not drinking. I'm not getting angry. I'm walking away from trouble. If something looks hinky to me, you know, hey, well, let's go in this dive bar. I don't think so. I'm carrying. It's not smart. I'm not going to get in a position. I'm certainly not going to kick in anybody's light. I'm not going to get in a position where I might have to fight with the cops if I'm carrying a gun, because you introduce a firearm. And again, I'm a constitutional carry guy. It offends me that someone presumes to give me a license to do what the Constitution says I can do. But if I introduce a gun to a situation I've helped create that involves violence, I have now escalated it.
100% agree. That is exactly what he did. And so what was your response when Kash, the FBI director, Kash Patel, and even President Trump said something similar to the effect of, you don't take a gun to a protest. Nobody takes a gun and all that extra ammo to a protest if you intend to be peaceful. That pissed off a lot of Second Amendment folks who said, wait a minute, I'll take a gun wherever I want to. That's constitutional carry.
Well, look, I think, first of all, the gun people, of which I am one, have carefully crafted our arguments over decades to explain where we stand. And Kash and Trump and some of the other people were not talking in the carefully curated language that we use to explain guns to normal people. What they were saying is something that normal people understood. Trump actually talks to normal people very well. And he said, I don't understand why you go get in a fight while you're carrying a gun, which is not appreciably different from what we think. But we would want to emphasize, look, you have a right to carry a gun anywhere. Just don't be, but if you're stupid, bad things may happen.
But you have a responsibility to act appropriately when you have it.
And I think they evoked among very sensitive Second Amendment types, and Second Amendment types should be sensitive, the notion that this guy was somehow asking for it because he had a gun. He wasn't asking for it anywhere any more than you're asking to be eaten by a shark by swimming in a shark-infested waters. If you do something that's not smart, you increase the possibility of it, though you don't necessarily want it to happen. And increase the possibility of mistakes. Now, I refuse to do the CSI Minneapolis. Let's watch. Okay, we're going to start the video here. At the first second, the cops tackled him. And then we're going to go to here and look at nothing else. The Pretty incident began 2.5 years before, or 4 years before, when Joe Biden opened the gates to 20 million illegal aliens.
Nobody else is saying that other than me. And I haven't
Yeah.
heard you, but
No,
so
you're
glad.
right.
The two people most to blame for the death of those two people and for all of the rest of this, all of it, are Biden and Kamala. They made this happen.
Yeah. Let's say that this guy got shot, even with his gun having been taken away a second or two before. Okay. And we could call it a something that didn't have to happen. I don't want to call it an error. I don't want to call it a mistake or whatever. But let's say he did not have it in his hand waving it around. Right. Okay. That's not the test. The test is what the cop thinks. And the cop can think something that is not objectively so. You can be reasonable in doing it by introducing a firearm to a situation where you're getting in a brawl on the ground with people, which he did. He didn't have to go grab that cop. He didn't have to come there. You have increased the chance of misunderstandings, errors, if you want to call it that. It is not up to, let's wave away all this guy's responsibility and look at this like 1.2 seconds of video. And have no allowances for the police officer.
Well,
I refuse to play that. That's a premise
I do too.
I do not accept.
And you know, nobody else talks about this part either. All he has to do, because all cops ever say is, let me see your hands. All he has to do when he's on the ground, instead of fighting back, put his arms out like this or do this. And guess what? Instead, he's reaching into his holster.
There are a million ways.
What are you gonna, I mean,
there are a million ways he could still be alive that are entirely on him.
Yes. He made the decisions that led to his death.
The cop was not perfect. So what? People are not perfect in all their interactions. Perfection is not the standard. It's not a legal standard. It's not a moral standard. If you create a situation where a misunderstanding is entirely possible, you have contributed. You are negligent, comparatively or contributorily, depending on.
Well, you know, if you think about the entire affair, only one person there made premeditated decisions that could have led to that violence.
Yes.
It wasn't the cops reacting to what was happening in real time, where milliseconds matter here. There was one person who made a premeditated decision to go down there, premeditated decision to bring a firearm, premeditated decision to suddenly be the hero and go and intervene when a police officer is removing somebody else who's impeding their operations, or a federal agent is. There's only one person who made these decisions that led to that death. It wasn't the cops who were reacting to those premeditated.
Well, look, and this is an argument we make to normal people. Leftists don't care. Doesn't matter. Yeah. What matters is he's dead and he's useful. But he's not useful anymore. He's in the Cindy Sheehan file. When's the last time you heard about him?
That's a very, very good reference.
Look, there is a fuse for these things. Everything is the worst thing ever. We're going to lose a midterm because the cops shot this communist weirdo. We're going to lose the midterm. There was a former Trump chief of staff who doesn't have a job apparently anymore, who just got on saying this Lion King video is going to lose us the midterm elections. Okay, it's like 3 days later, right? Is anybody talking about it except us to make fun of it?
I was going to say I was making fun of it all day today on my podcast.
Except to make fun of it. And most of it's like, where is it?
Well, I'm just trying to figure out if it is. I'm just trying to figure out, by the way, if it is so racist to portray Obama and Michelle and Barack Obama. Why wasn't it racist when Joe Biden, who's so freaking white, he's translucent, he was also a chimp in that same exact thing. And Kamala, who's black, by the way, was a turtle, and Whoopi, who's black, was a hippo, and Hakeem Jeffries, who's black, was a meerkat. So if it was about
meerkats are cool, man. I dig meerkats. It's like
I know he probably didn't deserve that role, but there it was.
Maybe he should be an otter, but well, let's not go down that road. Look.
It's a funny meme.
We look at things reasonably, and we analyze them, look at defects in them, and that helps for normal people. It doesn't help for the left because they don't care. I mean, they were having Chimpy McBush, Halliburton, Hitler, 25 years ago, right? Depicting Bush as a chimp.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They don't care. And I'm not, and I refuse to accept their premise that it means anything. I don't have to be outraged about it. I don't have to care that it happened. I don't have to sit and say, well, it's probably suboptimal. I wish Trump would be. No, I don't have to do any of it. I'm not Eric Erickson. I don't feel the need to correct my own side. It doesn't matter. I refuse to accept the premise that it matters. And that neuters them, even more neutered than they already are, because the left is a bunch of eunuchs.
Did you tweet about that at all?
I'm sure I did, but that was like 5 days ago, so that'd be 1,000 tweets ago.
Yeah, you are a very active tweeter. No
it's
question.
like Sudoku to me.
So let me get a couple of quickies. I'm just kind of scrolling your thing here. The Super Bowl thing. I know you're not a football guy. I know you're not a sports guy in general. You once made fun of me for being into sports ball or something like that, as you like to call it. But you had to be aware of the whole halftime thing. So
Bad Bunny.
What was your reaction? What was your take? Did you watch it at all, or did you look at it later?
I didn't watch it.
The
I
fact
saw
that it
that
was all
first.
in Spanish, was that a big middle finger to the American
Look,
people?
I'm married to a Cuban.
Okay.
But the funny thing is, they're like, you must hate our Latinx friends. Oh, you think
Latinx?
you think all Latinx people are the same? Why don't you go up to a Nicaraguan and ask them if they have anything in common with Puerto Ricans? I'd like to watch that. There is a hierarchy of Latinos that you and I, as people of power, have absolutely zero sense about. But they know exactly.
Lay it on me.
They don't
Lay it on me.
necessarily dig each other, and they are not the same.
Give me the hierarchy.
I don't even want to presume to. I have a general.
Your wife would know, right?
Oh, Arena knows. It's instinctive. But it's so condescending for these wine women types to start explaining to Latinx people how Latinx people should feel. You know, how much does a Mexican guy have in common with Bad Bunny? Maybe he likes the music, but the whole Puerto Rican flag thing, that's
all of the flags at the end of it, because I didn't watch it. I watched the TPUSA thing, and I thought it was fun and very awesome and inspirational. But of course, I went back and had to check this thing out. But at the end where he said, the left, he said, God bless America. He was pro-American. He said, God bless America, and then ripped off about 30 straight names of countries in the Americas, Latin America, Central America, South America. It was not about the United States of America. There was a call out to his Hispanic nation friends. That's it.
Well, look, we're not required to believe things that are obviously untrue, even though they're saying them. You know, everything from the if you looked at the little graphic for the Super Bowl, at the Golden Gate Bridge, but the Golden Gate wasn't gold, it was pink. The colors were the trans flag colors.
I didn't notice that.
The sign where he said, love will triumph over hate. Who are the haters?
You and me. Yes.
Look, I know when I'm being insulted.
Yeah.
Well, how could you be insulted by love is over hate? Wink, wink, wink. It's like, I don't have to participate in your weird passive-aggressive baloney.
Agreed.
It was designed to disrespect. I mean, you have Green Day on, and Green Day, notorious leftist band, but also a terrible, terrible band. Okay? I'm a big fan of post-punk power pop.
I know you are.
And they're everything I hate. If they put the Clash up there, Clash are outright leftist, but damn, they rocked. These guys are just terrible, and they hate America. So let's put them on.
Yeah.
And it's like, I know what you're doing. You know what you're doing. Who are you trying to fool?
What I want to know is why they're doing it, though. The NFL is built on a fan base of flannel shirt wearing, beer drinking guys who like to watch violence and then look at the pretty cheerleaders. And they're forcing trans cheerleaders onto the sidelines now. And shows like this. Why? Yeah, right. Why are they doing that?
Bud Light. Because look, I used to be an economic determinist back about 15 years ago. Right? I thought, look at Hollywood, man. They're leaving all this money on the table. They could be making People's Republic and make a fortune. And they could make a fortune off People's Republic. Why are they not doing it? Because money is not the only thing. There is a cultural cachet. They want to not be hated by their friends. They want their kids to get in the right schools. They want to continue in their circles. So they are willing to forego money to do leftist stuff. And we see all these institutions, including the NFL, getting off track from what they're supposed to do. NFL is supposed to provide all-American entertainment through sports.
Especially on Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah, there's no leftist component. But anything that is not outright conservative tends to get leftist over time, because it gets invaded and changed. And you see us with institution after institution. Now we're pushing back. The military, for instance, is now changing back to a real military. focused on what it's supposed to do rather than making sure that the local tranny has a job to be, you know, a freaking, you know, B-1 pilot.
So no more transgenders dancing on the deck of a battleship trying to recruit people.
That's not happening.
Did you see, by the way, did you see the Philly, I know I'm drifting off here. Did you see the Philadelphia recruiting commercial? It reminded me of what they were doing.
Yes.
Did you? Yeah, they're dancing and just doing all kinds of weird,
it looked like, I mean,
stuff. It reminded me of what they used to do.
Remember the Fat Boys rappers?
Yeah, yeah.
That's why I was thinking like a Fat Boys song. They were, my God, they were tubby.
Yeah, they were. And I don't know how that's supposed to make somebody want to go be a cop.
It was bad dancing too. And it's just, see, that's the sheriff's, now the role of the sheriff in Philadelphia is mostly to serve, you know, summonses and stuff. It's not like they're SWAT.
Yeah.
But, you know, maybe not being 200 pounds and borderline mentally retarded is probably a good image to project. You know, I'm just saying. And the left gets in these things and it ruins these institutions. It wrecks them. Okay. And then we figure out we can live without them. Case in point, the Oscars. When are the Oscars?
I don't know.
20 years ago, you would have known.
Maybe
20 years ago, you would have watched, or 30 years ago.
30. Yeah, I'll take that.
But 30 years ago, you will. Remember, everybody would like, oh, it's Oscar night. Get together, family has dinner in front of the TV. We're going to watch it. Because we've seen most of the movies.
Not anymore.
Oh my gosh, look at all these stars. And then they decided, now we're going to turn this into screw you right wingers.
Yep.
And we realized we can live without this. Before I screwed my hip up in the Army, I would run every day. 3-4 miles. And I now walk. And I would run by on the sidewalk, and every other house would have a Los Angeles Times on the driveway in the morning, including mine. My house would be strewn with paper. You should drive Arena nuts that we would have these papers. And I got sick of it. I got sick of it just being a commie nightmare. So I canceled my subscription. Now, when I walk around the neighborhood today, I think I noticed I saw one LA Times about a month ago. Oh, hold on. Come on in, Tim. I saw one LA Times, and I noticed that because I hadn't seen one in years.
Wow. No kidding.
We found we could get along without the newspaper. Newspapers were everything, remember?
Yeah.
That's where you did everything. If you like sports, you got the sports, you got the stock market. That's where I went to find out what movies were out.
And all of that is here now.
Well, yeah, there's technology too, but it is also an institution. I got rid of it before I got my iPhone. I got rid of it because I was sick of communist gobbledygook.
Yeah. Which is why we don't watch it. Which is why we won't watch the Oscars either, because you're going to get
watch the Oscars. I don't watch the Oscars. I don't watch any network TV.
Yeah, I have not watched.
Nothing. I used to watch 60 Minutes all the time. Yeah, sometimes they'd have like kind of liberally stuff, but then they'd have like, hey, here's a guy who has a dog ranch where he saves dogs. Okay, I'll watch that, but I can't do that now. It's all commie gobbledygook. I'm not going to do it. I used to watch The Simpsons all the time. Simpsons was funny 30 years ago. It's now commie gobbledygook.
It's awful. It's awful. I haven't watched it in years. And you're right. It was hilarious.
The old stuff was unbelievably clever and funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the news, I don't know what the new stuff is. I know what it was about 15 years ago when I stopped. It was, instead of Lisa being the kind of an annoying know-it-all who kind of learned a lesson about that, it was, no, she's the hero. You need to be nagged by a Lisa Simpson.
Yeah.
Who will probably be out shouting blank ice in Minnesota because she's 48 now?
Kurt, I got two other things because we're not reading the LA Times and we're not reading the Cleveland Plain Dealer out here where I live either. I can guarantee you that. What we are reading is Town Hall, and what we should be reading is Panama Red. So yeah, this is promo time. Let's promote your stuff. I threw this up a short while ago. men are going to strike back, which is just your latest column for Town Hall. You're a senior columnist there. What are we talking about? Are we talking about the toxic masculinity and the return thereof? What are we talking about?
Male-female relationships are pretty important in society, and of course they've been tweaked and twisted. I don't think I watched these guys walking out of essentially a quickie mart, to quote The Simpsons again. Guy had a cup of coffee. Woman runs up, hits the cup of coffee out of his hand. And I'm thinking, that's a woman who is relying on a paradigm of chivalry that she's doing her best to annihilate. Everything is a system. And we see that with the institutions. The institutions perform their job. In return, we give them respect and deference. They stopped doing their job. We stopped giving them respect and deference. They went into decline. Among men and women, the rule is you don't hit a lady. Right? I mean, that's
pretty standard. Yeah.
General rule.
Yeah.
There's a good reason for it. Men are physically bigger and can really hurt a woman. But that's part of a system of chivalry. What do the women do in that system? Well, they don't provoke fistfights with men. When they decide, I'm going to do what I want and not necessarily play my role in the system, and then they're stunned when the system doesn't react the way it did when the system existed. This Renee Good is an example. Cops aren't going to treat me like a criminal. I'm going to be safe around the guy. I can yell at him or whatever. But they're not going to treat me like a criminal and hurt me. I will take it one step farther and drive a car at them. Well, you've now broken the system. Okay, it's not the system you were relying on to keep from being shot doesn't exist because you made it not exist. So now don't be surprised that you are being treated in accordance with the new system that you created. And I know, and we see that a lot. People who expect a system to dogs. They've seen a puppy. They've got to go crazy. You create a system, and then you undermine it, and then you wonder why the system's not there to protect you. And that was what my argument was about. And it's in a lot of ways too. You see women complain. Yeah, young people. Now I've been married 25 years, so I don't really know, but I understand that women are like, why this guy asked me out and he wants to split the dinner with me. Well, okay, but a generation of boys has been raised being told men and women are exactly the same.
That's right.
What do you expect?
That's
now,
right.
I think guys should pay for women's dinner. I don't think that's crazy. But on the other hand, I think we should have that whole system back where, women treat the guy with, guy buys me dinner. I'm going to treat him with respect. We're going to have a good time. I'm not going to spend the whole time giving him crap because he doesn't vote or think exactly the way I do. I'm going to act like a polite lady, and he will act like a polite man.
Yeah, it's kind of like cafeteria Catholics. That's a term that goes around. I'm a Catholic. I don't know if you're Catholic. I'm a Catholic.
I'm a Methodist. I'm not sure we even have Jesus.
But cafeteria Catholics pick and choose which of the biblical laws and orders and commandments you're going to follow, which ones you don't necessarily agree with. That's kind of how what you're describing is. For a lot of women, particularly the awfuls, the affluent white female liberals or leftists, they want to be treated like a lady with the old system in certain circumstances when it benefits them, and at other times they want to throw whole thing out the window.
Chivalry is a system.
Right. Yep.
And look, I'm not going to excuse guys who prefer pot, pornography, and video games over being adults. There are guys who've made that decision. I think in their context, in some cases, it at least is superficially rational. I think it's short-sighted and dumb and self-destructive. But I can see guys opting out of relationships with women where a significant number of women are treating them like garbage. I see that. Again, guys have to take responsibility for their own lives. I'm just explaining why the phenomenon happens. I'm not trying to excuse it.
No, I
because
got
I
it.
don't. I think that's weak and stupid.
I got it. No, it's a great argument. Kurt, I've got 2 minutes left, so I want to do
wow.
this. Yeah, I
That
want
was
to do this
fast.
real quick. Yeah, this is a phenomenal hour, by the way. Tell us more about Panama Red. You can tell us about the whole Kelly Turnbull series if you want.
Well, Kelly Turnbull is the hero of a set of action novels that began with People's Republic back in 2016. There are now 9 of them. America is split into red and blue sections. Kelly Turnbull's an operative who goes into blue America, and it is a lot like a college campus, except much more murderous. They are fast, they are funny, they are violent. It's all good parts. People love them. I've sold hundreds of thousands of these. Andrew Breitbart inspired it. He said, we got to make our own culture. And the message is there, but the fun is there. I was reading a book by a nominally conservative spy writer, and I got 2 pages in and threw it across the room because it was stupid, and it was the same book he'd written 30 times before. And all my books are different. All my books are fun. They are fun to write. They are fun to read. I mean, look at the reviews. Don't take my word for it. Panama Red, the latest one, a lot of fun. Very up to date, very current. Lots of Easter eggs for conservatives.
I just love the concept because, in fact, you tell me rather than me give an opinion on it. How close are we to being divided into blue and red states to the point where it's civil war type stuff? And I don't know if it's going to look like the blue and the gray used to look, or it would be a little bit different. But I mean, we're on a freaking razor's edge here, aren't we?
Look, these issues are going to have to get resolved one way or another. And I can fully see a Democrat administration through stupidity and arrogance blundering into some sort of conflict that disrupts our country in ways we can't imagine. I wrote another book about it, American Apocalypse, Stories from the Second Civil War, which you can check out. And it's not a happy, but it's not a, us red guys are going to get our AR-15s and go and win this in a day. That's not what happens when you destroy a system. America is a system. It's a system of logistics, of currency, of communications, of relationships, of transportation, of trade. You disrupt that, millions of people are going to die. Because, if we get a system where what happens when the system falls apart and you can't get money out of the ATM? How are you going to get the insulin for your type 2 diabetic daughter? Where are you going to get food? Food isn't made at the grocery store.
That's right.
America is a system, and these people seem to think it is a given. I've been in the Los Angeles riots. I saw how thin the veneer of civilization is, and it's thin. And if you start pulling blocks out of the Jenga tower, eventually it's going to fall over.
There you go. Colonel Kurt Schlichter, this was fun, man. I knew it would be, but it was more fun than I thought, actually. And I learned things I didn't know. The stand-up comedy thing, and the fact that you were on the ground in the riots of LA, that's just wild. It gives you unique insight into the stuff that not a lot of other people have. So, Kurt, thank you for doing what you do. Keep up the phenomenal work. I hope we can do this again.
Sure.
This was great fun.
Well, good. Congratulations on the new gig, and I hope it's. I hope people turn in.
Thank you.
Tune in.
I know what you meant. Panama Red. Townhall.com. Make sure you're checking out Kurt everywhere. Colonel Kurt, thank you, brother.
Thanks for having me.
All right, there you go. That's Colonel Kurt. That's the one that I told you I'd kind of been hiding. Not hiding. I'm giving bonuses and preferential treatment, if you will, to our paid local insiders, our unfiltered insiders on the locals community. So that's been available to them for the last 4 days. I'll give things out to the general public after the fact, but some of these things, including Brigitte, including obviously Colonel Kurt and other real big interviews that we have, are going to be kind of embargoed a little bit, and first dibs are going to go to those who are our true paid supporters. And I thank you for that to everybody. Obviously, we're long here today because of the interview. It's already 12 minutes after, so we're going to call it a day. I was bouncing around in the chat a little bit with the folks who really seem to enjoy Colonel Kurt, so I'm really glad to see that. And Yeah, it was an excellent interview, Sarah. Not from my end, but from Kurt. I mean, when you got great subject matter, it's easy to do an interview, and he was fantastic. So, thank you, everybody. Thanks for your thoughts and your comments on the whole ICE thing in Minnesota. There are a lot of other stories that we really didn't get to, but that's okay. We're going to do more commentary outside of the live stream, by the way, in the upcoming days and weeks, because I don't like letting a whole weekend go by without giving updates on things that are important to us here in the state of Ohio. They may be national in scale, but if they're important to us here in Ohio, I want to get them out to you sooner rather than later. So we're going to keep dropping content outside of the live stream 7 to 9, Monday through Friday times. So make sure you have your notifications on. Again, look at your screen right now. You'll see the join button there for locals. Join the locals community, first of all, as just a free subscriber. And then if you want to become a paid subscriber, that's amazing because that's what we need. But right next to that is the bell. Click that bell. That's the notifications button. That'll make sure that when we drop new content, you will get a notification on your phone. All right, or your computer or what have you. So we want you to be able to do that. And also make sure that your phone is turned, in the settings on your phone, make sure that the notifications are allowed there from Rumble so that you can get those, because we're going to keep dropping more material outside of just the 7 to 9 live stream. All right. So I want to say thank you to Colonel Kurt. Thanks to everybody here in the chat today. Thanks to all of my guests this week. It's been a very, very good week for Strictly Speaking Unfiltered. We have a lot more coming. Don't forget this. Let me pop this up here on the screen real quick, and I'll put it up here for like 60 seconds. Get your camera out. If you're not yet a subscriber to the Strictly Speaking This Week newsletter that'll come out on Sunday morning at 6 a.m., there's the code. If you're watching on a computer screen, get your phone out right now and scan that QR code. Then you just have to put in your name and your email address, and you will receive the Strictly Speaking This Week newsletter. Again, it comes out every week without fail at 6 a.m. on Sunday mornings. I put it out there early so you have time to read it before church or mass or service or whatever. You can read it whenever you want, but I put it out there to give you that option early on Sunday morning at 6 a.m. So make sure you're looking for it there. So scan that. And if you don't have a phone to scan that, or if you're watching on your phone right now and you can't scan something from the same device, just send me an email or send Dan an email. I'm going to pawn this off on my guy, Dan Ramada. Send Dan an email, dan@strictlyspeaking.org. dan@strictlyspeaking.org. Send him an email and say, I want the newsletter. Then you just give him your email address and he'll sign you up and you'll be good to go. All right. So that is going to do it. As I say, make sure you are checking for that sooner rather than later. And we're going to call it a day. Really appreciate you. Make sure you're looking out for us over the weekend. There I am again. Make sure you're looking out for us over the weekend so that you can get new content that drops, and there will be some. And don't forget, become an Unfiltered Insider, and you will be a part of our next town hall meeting. In fact, our next town hall meeting this coming week is going to be in person. We're doing a meetup, and we're not disclosing locations because it is only for those who are part of the war room. You're in the strategy sessions with me. You're going to be there with me at our next meetup. But if you want to be a part of that, sign up right now as a Locals Insider. All right, everybody. Thank you. Be well, be safe, stay free, and have a great weekend.